You okay? All right, thank you. Just waiting for Commissioner Hanson.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for attending. Today is September the 8th, and we're going to call our meeting to order. This is our first public hearing regarding our tentative millage rates and our fiscal 2021 to 22 year budget. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask that you join us in a pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And again, please join us in a moment of silence as we think about, remember, and pray for all of our first responders here in Flagler County, our law enforcement officers, and also the brave men and women of the United States military here and abroad to keep us safe. And also, I wanted to ask you to keep the family of Deputy Luciano in your thoughts and prayers. I neglected to do that this morning. It was an oversight on my part. I just wanted to make sure that we brought that forward as well. So please join us in a moment of silence. Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to open this public hearing, and the first order of business is an adoption of our special assessment rolls for fiscal year 21-22, and I will call on our budget team to begin the process.
All right, Brian Egger, Financial Services. Mr. Chair, the first item presented tonight is the adoption of the special assessment rolls and rates for the FY22 budget. For the entities listed in the staff report, the rates remain unchanged from the FY21 budget. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the attached resolution approving the assessment roll and levying the non-ad valorem assessments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion on that? If not, I'm going to open it up for public comment. I have it, Mr. Attorney. I got it written down my order right here. Okay, we'll open up public comment on adoption of the special assessment rolls, which is our agenda item 3. Anyone from the public wish to comment on our motion? All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment, and I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion from Commissioner Hanson, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to item number 4, which is consideration of adoption of our fiscal year 22 to 26 5-year capital improvement program.
Amanda Gilbert, Financial Services. Mr. Chair, for consideration is the FY22 through FY26 5-year capital improvement program. Funding has been appropriated in the FY22 budget for projects that were prioritized to be in the first year of the CIP. Year 2 are projects that are financially feasible, and years 3 through 5 are prioritized for planning purposes. The unfunded list has also been included, which is comprised of projects that we have not yet identified funding in the next 5 years for, or in the case of the airport and the special revenue funds, we may not yet have grant agreements in place for them. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Any commissioners, any questions for Amanda?
Nope.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the FY 2022 through 2026 five-year capital improvement program.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll open that item up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on item 4 on our agenda, adoption of our 5-year capital improvement program? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. Call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to item 5, which is consideration of adopted changes to our budget management policy, our financial management policy, and our capital improvement program policy.
Chad Bluell, Financial Services. Mr. Chair, the changes made to the board's 3 policies relating to financial management, budget management, and the capital improvement program were necessary to provide for secondary signature authority in the unanticipated absence of the county administrator or the financial services director. Do you have any questions?
No.
Yeah, it seems to me all those changes were pretty straightforward. I think we all looked through them, so if no other questions, we'll entertain a motion on that one.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the changes to the budget management policy, financial management policy, and capital improvement policy.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll open this one up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on the adopted changes to our budget management policy, financial management policy, and capital improvement program policy? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment, call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. That motion carries unanimously. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, and we will convene our public hearing on this item. So I will kick this off. The Flagler County Board of County Commissioners will now enter the portion of the public hearing related to the Flagler County fiscal year 2021-2022 proposed millage rates and tentative budget as required by Florida statutes, Chapter 129 and Chapter 200, and as advertised in the Truth and Millage trim notices. If anyone in our audience is here for the purpose of contesting their assessment, a petition for adjustment with the Value Adjustment Board should be filed by 5 p.m. Monday, September the 20th, 2021. And instructions for that are stated in your trim notices that were sent out via first-class mail by the county's property appraiser to every taxpayer on the property value assessment roll. For those in attendance this evening wishing to address the board, citizens' comments will be taken following the overview of the tentative budget by the Financial Services Budget Team. The Financial Services Director, Mr. John Brower, will now present an explanation of the proposed and rolled back millage rates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening, we'll take a number of actions related to the adoption of the proposed millage rates and budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. Tonight's hearing is the first of 2 public hearings required to be held per Florida statute prior to the adoption of final millage rates and budget by a taxing authority. As such, this is not the final budget hearing, and final adoption of the millage rates and budgets will not be considered tonight. At the conclusion of this hearing, a specific date, time, and place of the second public hearing for adoption of the final millage rates and budget will be established. Florida statute required the name of the taxing authority, the millage rate to be levied, the rollback rate, and the percentage change over rollback rate be publicly announced. In addition, one of the requirements of truth and millage legislation is to provide information about why proposed millage rates differ from the rollback millage rates. To begin, the Department of Revenue has determined that Flagler County should combine the millage rate for the general countywide levy, proposed to be 8.0297 for FY22, and the portion of the voter-approved millage used for the environmentally sensitive lands operating expenses, proposed to be 0.1250 mils, for the purpose of calculating the total operating millage and the applicable rollback rate. Rollback millage rate is defined as the millage rate which, exclusive of new construction, additions to structure, deletions, and property added due to geographic boundary changes will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue for each taxing authority as was levied during the prior year. The trim process requires that a notice of tax increase be advertised when the current year proposed aggregate millage rate exceeds the calculated aggregate rollback millage rate. The aggregate rollback millage rate is calculated by dividing the prior year adjusted property tax revenue by the current year taxable property value multiplied by 1,000. The current year taxable value does not include new construction or tax increment or CRA values. For the fiscal year 2022 budget, the aggregate proposed operating millage for the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners countywide levy is 8.1547 mils, which is 3.91% greater than the rollback rate of 7.8475 mils. The increase in property tax revenue is essential to fund the appropriations needed to operate the general countywide budget. Financial Services Budget Manager Brian Eichinger will now present an overview of the tentative budget for fiscal year 2021-22.
Mr. Chair, the total county tentative budget for fiscal year 2021-22 is $221,094,445, which is a net increase of $1,229,376 compared to the proposed budget of $219,865,069 presented to you in July. These changes are shown alongside the tentative FY 21-22 budget included in your agenda package as a separate attachment. I do want to point out a Scrivener's error in the Schedule A. Fund 146, the construction and demolition debris landfill, was mislabeled as Fund 126. I'm happy to answer any questions pertaining to the changes or on the budget before you at this time.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Eichinger?
Where we're supposed to be. No, sir.
Okay. All right. So it looks like we don't have any questions. I would now like to invite citizens to comment on the fiscal year 2021-2022 proposed millage rates and tentative budget. Please come forward to the podium if you wish to address the board. We do request that each speaker will limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. The hearing will continue until everyone who wishes to address the commission has had an opportunity to speak. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing no one come forward, I will now close the public comment section of this public hearing. And we will move on to actions to take here.
Mr. Chair, the budget document before you, the FY 22 tentative budget, includes the changes that were described earlier. Any additional adjustments to the budget can be made by motion at this time.
All right, commissioners, I'm looking for a motion. Okay.
Mr. Chair, Florida statutes require the board to adopt proposed millage rates prior to adopting the related budget. As such, before you is resolution number 2021-64, a resolution to adopt the tentative millage rates for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 200 Florida statutes, providing for conflicts and severability and providing for an effective date. This resolution includes the general fund millage of 8.0297, the voter-approved millage rate for the environmentally sensitive lands operating budget at 0.1250, the environmentally sensitive lands debt service millage at 0.1250, and the general obligation bonds millage for the judicial center at 0.2050. The total millage rate for FY22 is 8.4847, which is 0.1 mils lower than FY21.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution number 2021-64, adopting the tentative millage rates for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022.
Second. Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. We'll open this to discussion between the commissioners. Any comments, questions, concerns? All right. Hearing none, we'll open this also up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on the motion on the floor regarding the tentative millage rates? All right, seeing no one approach the podium, we'll close public comment. Call the question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. And we will move on to resolution regarding adopting changes to revenue estimates.
And Mr. Chair, subsequent to the board adopting the FY22 proposed millage rates, is to adopt the corresponding FY22 tentative budget. Before you is resolution number 2021-65, a resolution to adopt the change revenue estimates and the tentative budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022, pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 200, Florida statutes, providing for conflicts and severability and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve resolution number 2021-65, adopting the changed revenue estimates and tentative budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022.
We have we have a second on that? Okay. Any further discussion, commissioners? All right, we'll open this one up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on the motion regarding the changed revenue estimates and tentative budget? Seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment. I'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You vote, Commissioner Mullins?
Sorry.
In the mic?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move on to establishing and announcing the date and time for our next public hearing.
Mr. Chair, the final action requested from the board this evening is to establish and publicly announce the date, time, and location of the final public hearing to consider adopting the final millage rates and budget as amended. This meeting must be held within 20 days following the conclusion of tonight's public hearing, properly advertised and held after 5:00 p.m. Staff recommends that the second and final public hearing be scheduled for Monday, September 20th, 2021, at 5:01 p.m. in the same location, the board's chambers.
Mr. Chairman, we move to schedule the second and final public hearing to adopt the final FY22 millage rates and budget on Monday, September 20th, 2021, at 5:01 p.m. in the board's chambers, 1769 East Moody Boulevard, Building 2, Bunnell, Florida, 32110.
We have a motion on that. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that item? We'll open that one up to public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on our proposed time and date for our next public and final public hearing? All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll close public comment, call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chair, the budget-related business for this evening's public hearing is complete. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I just want to express my appreciation and commend you, Mr. Brower, and the budget team. Excellent job throughout this process. Sure appreciate it. Appreciate the leadership of Ms. Petito and before her, Mr. Cameron. And I think we're in good stead and very professional and appreciate it very much. So
Thank you, Mr.
with
Chair.
that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned and in the rain.
Just stay here for a while.
Well done, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we're through it.
Got through it.
At least this one.